We're worthy of opportunities. We're worthy of everything that God created us to be. So I gotta do this. Then we get a mic up. And I don't care who you believe in, but can I just bless the room real quick? Y'all mind if I do that? Whoever you believe in, just a moment of silence. I just want to go to God really quickly. Heavenly Father, I just want you to bless this room. I want you to open up minds. I want you to allow people to meet new people. I want you to plant in people the opportunity that you created them for. I want you to continue to bless Sister Cheryl and the organization and the people. I want there to be seeds planted. I want those seeds to grow. There'll be no weapon formed against anyone in this room on today. In Jesus' name, amen. I just wanted to do that really quickly. Use today as an opportunity to understand what your strategy is, how you're building your business, how you can help those people in the room. And then when you leave today, have a plan of action. So as you're taking notes, what are your to-dos? Who are you going to follow up with? How are you going to create change? How are you going to grow something? Because if you don't do that, you wasted your time today. And we're not here to do that, right? So let's all raise our hand and take a quick pledge. I'm going to be different when I leave the room. Y'all don't mean that. I'm going to be different when I leave this room today. I'm going to be different when I leave this room today. All right, well, let's go then.
All right. So, in the name of, I'm not as tall as Michelle, but I'm not going back up the stairs. In the name of being different, really wanted today, when the opportunity to engage Mike Ford came to me, it spoke in so many different ways. And I don't know if anyone from planning department or other folks were able to make it today, but it just spoke to me the work that he is doing to reframe and rethink about architecture. You know, so often when I heard the word architecture, I thought of like Frank Lloyd Wright, who folks may be familiar with, and the whole like the way that the buildings were built and how amazing they were and the structure of them, but it seemed pretty, you know, it seemed pretty vanilla, right, in some ways when we think about it. Like it's beautiful, but it follows a format and a structure that's pretty plain in some way. Simple is not bad, that's not what I'm saying. But when I saw the work that Mike was doing to think about architecture, to include the notion of hip hop and being very intentional about like urbanizing the idea and the framing of architecture, I was super excited. So much so I know Diane Gray and James Pingola and a bunch of other people got emails from me saying like, we need to bring this to San Francisco. And when the opportunity came to not just bring the camp to San Francisco, but to bring the person behind the camp to San Francisco, the request was made and he accepted it. And so I want to just bring to the space to talk to us a little bit this morning, Michael Ford, the hip hop architect. Woo!
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right. Well, thanks to everybody who played a part in getting me to come here today. Just so I know who I'm speaking to, is there anybody that's here in the planning department or is involved with design at all? Nobody. That's good. So I can talk bad about. Well, I'm gonna talk bad about architecture, urban planning, and all that. And I'm doing a quick time check too. Are we 15? Oh, okay. 15:30. That's what. Give me the ramp it up. All right. So 2%. Less than 2% of architects in the United States are Black. What does that mean? So there's less than 500 women, Black women, who've ever been a licensed architect. I think the number today might be around 460. When you're around Black women or architects, they all know their number and they share their number. I was number 400, 401. Black men were not that much more, it's about 1,500 Black men. So oftentimes when people are saying you should do something besides dribble a basketball, maybe study architecture, I'm like, no, you actually have a higher chance to make it to the NBA and become a licensed Black architect.
Wow. Well,
just crazy.
I'm a daughter of a civil engineer. So.
I've spent, the better part of the last 2 decades working to make architecture not only more accessible, but more relevant. And I'm gonna show you a little bit of that today. And I'm gonna start off with a very short story. Back in 2020, I was working at a very large firm, like one of the largest firms in the world, and decided to step away. It's out there, you can read the articles. I don't like to bash the firm too much, but I was challenging them on their portfolio, types of projects they were working on, especially considering the times we were going through. I don't believe that any architecture work on prisons or jails. It goes directly against everything that we learn as architecture students and as we get our license. We learn that we are here for the health, safety, and welfare of people who inhabit our spaces. And all of that is thrown out of the door when we're designing those types of spaces. So I walked away after learning that we had some of that work in our portfolio and said that, I'm gonna go back to my own practice, build it up, and work on projects that enhance the quality of life. So I'm gonna show you a few of those projects. I'm gonna focus on one that's very fun, and then I wanna show you the hip hop architecture camp, so how I use my professional practice and the projects I work on to inspire more kids to become architects. All right, so this year is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So very big moment, something that people thought was gonna be a fad is gonna go away. My firm, which is called Brand New Design Studio, founded the firm, again, after walking away from another one. And our firm is leading the design of the Hip Hop Museum in the Bronx. So, shout out to hip hop. So the Hip Hop Museum, I was born and raised in Detroit. After living there, going to school there, I moved to Madison, Wisconsin. I thought my life in hip hop was over. And to my surprise, University of Wisconsin in Madison had one of the largest hip hop programs in the country.
Wow.
And so students come in full scholarship to study one of the elements of hip hop. The program was called First Wave. And to my surprise, Curtis Blow was a keynote speaker at one of their sessions. And a professor heard that there was this guy named Mike Ford, the hip hop architect. He's like, I gotta connect y'all to you. Luckily, I checked my emails that night. I went and I met Curtis Blow. That's what he unveiled this idea to build a hip hop museum. He said he's thinking about his contribution beyond music. What legacy does he leave behind? And if I call myself the hip hop architect, it should be the perfect project. So I met Curtis Blow. He said, hey, I'm gonna invite a lot of artists out, and I want you to come in, work with us, and create a concept for the hip hop museum. I said, well, that's impossible. I don't want to be the sole person to make that image which represents hip hop. So what I did is I called some of those 2% folks. Our small group, we're part of an organization called the National Organization of Minority Architects. So I called in a few of my friends, this is us. We all came in, sat down with artists, and created some of the first images to represent the Hip Hop Museum. So this was in the Bronx, in an abandoned building, the Bronx County Courthouse that was going to become the Hip Hop Museum. So articles started to come out. I got students involved to advance some of the ideas that we were talking about. We brought in Netflix, and if you ever seen The Get Down, Netflix did a special premiere of The Get Down inside of the old Bronx County Courthouse. This building was to become the Hip Hop Museum. So we had A$AP Rocky, Jaden Smith, all of the people who played in the movie on that series come out and celebrate this as the place of hip hop. Unfortunately, we gave this developer so much free press that his building was empty. Right? It's every magazine is writing about it. It's on TV. Basically, we're broadcasting that his building is empty. And someone came in with a check. Said, hey, we can take this now. The museum had a few days to match it. And of course, we hadn't done that much besides this kickoff session. And they didn't want to commit to a building that we haven't really investigated that much. So at that point, we learned really quick. Real G's got to move in silence while we're signing philosophy. Mr. Lil Wayne. But yeah, a lot of investment here. But that stopped. and we found another site that I'm gonna tell you all about. This was the groundbreaking for the project. So the project includes a lot of artists, not just people from the Bronx, but from around the world. It's not just rappers, it's every element of hip hop. So DJs, MCs, breakdancers. This was our groundbreaking, Nas, LL Cool J, Fat Joe, the young man with the gray beard, it's a Paradise Gray. He's on a TV show right now on A&E called Hip Hop Treasures. They are going around finding elements for the Hip Hop Museum. But this was our groundbreaking. This is the museum. A lot of the artists, which I talk about a lot when I give lectures, a number of the artists who started or pioneered hip hop all grew up in low income or affordable housing. So it was important for us to find an opportunity to develop a museum, but also look at not gentrifying that neighborhood. So the museum has 525 affordable housing units above the museum. The museum is the bottom 2 floors. It's about 50,000 square feet. It's right off the Harlem River. Here's some shots on August 11th. This is when we did a VIP tour of the construction site. So this was the morning of the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Wow. Right.
One of the other tough questions they asked me to do, said, Mike, we need a cornerstone for the hip hop museum. We need something, usually you see a date chisel within the building. It's like, we need something that's a cornerstone. I said, well, it should be a lyric. And then they asked me, go ahead and put the lyric on there. I'm like, nope. You're not setting me up with that. Let's have a session or a number of sessions where we talk to people around the country about how can we put a lyric there that everybody agrees with. It is related to architecture, related to design, related to the evolution of hip hop. And what we decided was it was Biggie Smalls. It was all a dream. And you never thought hip hop would take it this far.
Right on.
So on his birthday this year, you see the young lady standing in front of me with the pink dress, young man with the Yankees hat, CJ, those are his 2 children.
Oh, right on.
So we threw a birthday party for him and presented them with the renderings that their dad's lyrics will be immortalized on the Hip Hop Museum. We also had, Lil C's, that's him standing next to me, that was Big's right-hand man. Rocky Bucanos, the guy that's like 8 feet tall. He's the director for the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Ralph McDaniels, he started Video Music Box, so really put music videos on the air. And then here's the render we presented. This is me at the construction site when the lyrics were installed. And then we had another tough task. As construction is going on the interior, we wanted to put images up on the windows to block the construction. And like clockwork, Mike, let's put 8 images. No, I'm not picking the 8 images. Get a committee together. Let them pick the 8 images. But we put 8 images that represented a wide swath of hip hop culture. Placed those images, we unveiled them to everybody on August 11th. And then we had the artists come out. So Public Enemy came out. They took images. It was very funny when I'm talking to young folks about hip hop, and I mentioned Flavor Flav. They're like, "Oh, the reality star." This was one of the most politically conscious rappers ever heard. Yes, Chuck D, Flavor Flav. So we had the artists come out and be a part of the unveiling of the museum. Another image here, and then I'll show you a quick fly through of the project. Let's see if this works with the clicker. It does. Just a drone shot. Whoever flew this drone has some skills, because I want to go through the door into the building.
Right on.
So the museum originally was going to be open in September of 2023, this year. The pandemic pushed us back about 18 months. So we're going to open the first quarter of 2025. But you can see it is well on its way. So if you're ever in the Bronx, definitely check it out. You can see the construction going on. And right across the street, we have a pop-up museum where you can see a glimpse of what will be inside. These are some of the images on the interior. So our exhibit designer, is Ralph Applebaum Associates. And some of the things, I won't go through all of the ideas. I want to speed through and show you all at the camp. Well, one of the things that happened is our lead facilitator, our lead exhibit designer for the Hip Hop Museum, he lost his vision. He lost his vision during this project. So he started asking us, how do people who don't have sight experience graffiti?
Wow.
Right? How do you liberate graffiti from this two-dimensional plane? You always see like these drop shadows and bevels and things that graffiti artists did that make it look 3D. Can we make hip hop more accessible? So you start to see that in some of the images where people can now kind of touch the graffiti as opposed to it being flat on this 2D surface. People that can't do graffiti, teaming with technology partners, we can write something on your phone or tablet and a robot will recreate it in your favorite writer style. People who don't like hip hop at all, we actually did a tour around the country to investigate what would make you come to a museum if you're not a hip hop fan. And one of the things we learned was learning the connections between hip hop and other genres. So creating spaces where you can see how hip hop has sampled, or now how people are sampling hip hop. And a few more exhibit images.
Very nice, very nice.
So that's the Hip Hop Museum, and we're going to open in April of 2025. But definitely stay aware of that project. It's not a project about the Bronx. It's a project about hip hop and its global impact. And you can follow them on Instagram and keep up with the development. All of my professional projects, I've taken and created this program called the Hip Hop Architecture Camp. And it started off, and I'm looking at y'all too, so give me that. It started off with this TEDx. I had to give it a fancy name so the people at TED would like call me back.
Really?
So I'm trying to make it confusing as possible. So I called it Hip Hop as Modernisms. Hip hop as a post-occupancy evaluation of modernism. I wanted them to say, what the heck? And they did. But basically what it's saying is that when you take the time to listen to rap, you'll see that they're critiquing the built environment.
Yeah.
And we know that only 2% of architects are black. So not talking about what we've done. We're talking about what architects, urban planners who don't look like us have done in our communities. And beyond the architecture, it's also the policies and procedures that are wrapped or housed within those structures. So that's what the TEDx is about. I go through some of your favorite songs and show how they are related to the built environment. Distill that talk in my professional projects down to a hip hop architecture camp. Right. So we use hip hop as a way to introduce young people to architecture. It's totally free, running about 35 cities across the country.
Wow.
We run it in Kenya, have a program throughout Canada, so Toronto and Vancouver. Our kids have been on the Oprah Winfrey Network, the Today Show. They've gotten a lot of exposure because of this unique way they look at architecture. And it's based on this idea that we say music is liquid architecture and architecture is frozen music. So this is an old quote, but if architecture is frozen music, how can we freeze the most popular music genre of all time? So what we do is we have kids read lyrics. Like usually when you come into the camp, you expect it to be loud. It's very quiet. Kids are reading the words. They're seeing how they're talking about the neighborhoods, how they're talking about communities. But then we've taught them a way to break down the lyrics with math. So they break down bar for bar what the artists are talking about. And then they rebuild it with these Legos. So you see the young lady, she's looking at the complexity that's within hip hop. And most people want to look at rap as this deviant behavior, right? Our kids over there rapping. It's like, no, they are genius. They're doing math that's so complex that you don't even recognize it as math. So we've broken down a way to extract that math And now each Lego piece is related to the double entendres, to triple entendres, like all the creativity that's wrapped up in hip hop. And we bring rappers in, we built their models. The moment a rapper comes in, we give it to them, most rappers are like, oh, this is cute. That kid made a model, like, no, that's your song. And then as they sing the song and point to each piece, the rappers grasp this idea.
Wow.
These are some of the images that the young folks make, which again is extracting the structures and patterns from rap. They start to build models of cities, or their first ideas of cities. So again, as a planner might come in, it's like, hey, you made a nice city. Like, nah, that's Lauren Hill lyrics. Then we teach our young people how to rap. So they have to make a rap about a project idea. We teach them that you have to be a little bit more complex with your rap. You can't have rhyming words at the end. You need to have inline rhymes. You need to use those double entendres. You need to really construct this verse, just like we do as architects. Like every detail, nothing is missed.
We individuals suffer enough.
I'm gonna skip her. She was like fire, but trust me. And then we have them design our projects. Our young people, this their first time ever making something 3D, but it's theirs. They made it. They made a song about it. And then we give them an internship with an architecture firm where they take their idea and make it to something more realistic in their neighborhoods or communities. Red, black, green. Again, last but not least, sometimes it's fictitious projects like the one you saw, but we also have our young people look at real things that's going on in our neighborhoods and communities. This is was a historic neighborhood in Detroit called Paradise Valley, also known as Black Bottom. So this is where a lot of folks, when they move from the south to the north, working for the auto industry, this is a neighborhood they moved to. First hospitals, pharmacies, churches that were built by Black folks in Detroit was built in Paradise Valley or Black Bottom. So this is the neighborhood before, this is the neighborhood after. All right, so as the Highway Construction Act was passed, Detroit wasn't the only city, almost every major city across the country. The easiest way to get from the suburban districts to the central business district was right through established Black neighborhoods. So the Michigan Department of Transportation and City of Detroit wants to right this wrong. They want to cap the expressway and make it back into a major boulevard. So they brought us in to run a hip hop architecture camp where we use Detroit music. We brought in children and grandchildren of some of the business owners, and we use music to recreate what the street could be and to engage the city of Detroit about this idea. And I'm gonna end by letting you all listen to some of these kids. So we make these music videos. We get a bus, we travel around the city. People don't know who we're looking at. They don't know if it's like a young celebrity because we got lights and cameras. Like, nah, it's just kids studying architecture.
That's awesome.
So they make up their own song. We drove this lady crazy on the bus. We was filming on the bus. But I'll let y'all listen to part of it. Yeah, here we go. And they wanted to go to the freeway too. They wanted to spin over the freeway. And the second girl, she was the best rapper ever in the camp.
All right. Right on. There we go.
But there was some more in there, but I'll end by saying we talked to them about creative storytelling and lyrics. So you heard her say in the future, I'm gonna be rich off the bread. Her project that she created was a bakery that she would put in that neighborhood. So when she did her rap battle, she had to rap about being rich off the bread. Thank you all.
Give it up for Michael Ford. Now you all see project there. So, and yes, reparations and all the things. So, what we're gonna do now is we have 2 breakouts that will happen. One in this space with Michelle G, which will focus in on, Michael Ford, I'm sorry. Michael Ford will be in this space. So Michael will be here talking a little bit more about the hip hop architecture and building out that model, and hopefully recruiting some folks to be interested in bringing that to San Francisco. And then downstairs will be Michelle G, working with our entrepreneurs. And so I know Pia and folks are here. And so for some folks, that's a continuation of previous visits, and for other folks, that is new. So again, thank you all so much for being here. There's somebody in the back and is there any specific on the Michelle G piece? Is that mainly for entrepreneurs, or it's open to other folks? People who want to actualize their dreams. Well, I hope everybody in here got a dream that you're trying to actualize. But that you want to tell your story, you want to build your brand, you want to think about like how to take the thing that you've been thinking about and blow it up. That is the think tank that is going to happen downstairs with Michelle G. And then upstairs, we are going to have the conversation with Michael Ford. So somebody's in the back. I also want to recognize and acknowledge Karen Clopton, the chair of the San Francisco Human Rights Commission, for her leadership and partnership in this work. Thank you so much. She'll be talking to you all a little bit later. So again, in this room, Michael Ford and following whoever is guiding folks in the back there with Michelle G. Please make your way to where you're going. And make sure to help get rid of the pastries and yogurt over there. Because otherwise I will eat it all. And that'll be a problem. And I've been asked to request that if you're staying for Michael Ford's session, to please move to the right side, because we're going to be setting up lunch on the right.
I'm just going to squeeze this way. Hi. Thank you.
So you from Madison? You from Madison? No, I'm not. Wisconsin. I'm from Afghanistan. Okay.
Email them and then say
My camera's still live. It's just like.
Hey, John Henry. Good.
I'm gonna be here.
Thank you.
And possibly have everybody who's staying for this session kind of scoot over to this side of the room, to the right side of the room. Go over this way because I'm going to set it for lunch. That side. Oh, excuse me, left for everybody. My right, y'all left. Apologies. I'm sorry. Sorry. That's okay.
All right, good morning, everybody, again. All right, so I got to give y'all a little glimpse of what the Hip Hop Architecture Camp is. And I think before I go off into more about what the program is, I'm open to taking questions from people, and then that can help me guide, the next thing or things that I'll show you. One of the ultimate goals is getting a program set up here in the Bay so that we can talk about actual projects that are happening or programming initiatives, or just get kids to dream about their own ideas. But definitely open to questions that y'all might have. I'm gonna go here. I saw you, and then we'll
Mr. Forbes, thank you. Regarding San Francisco, when you go into a city to promote interns or help the youth and build them up, is that a funding the city needs to have to support, or is that something you do? And how would we even get started in that mode? We do internship for redevelopment here in San Francisco for property through OCII, the infrastructure and work that's being done.
All right, so good question. I've gotten myself in trouble before. The program is free. It's free for the kids, but yes, there's a fee for when we come into a city and run a camp. And that has been done a number of different ways. Sometimes we might team with a city planning department or a mayor's office. It might be a private developer or a college or university. It's very different, public libraries. But the fee for running the camp is $30,000. We usually take a max of 40 young people to be involved. So that includes everything for the camp except for the food each day. So we have the local hosts handle the food. But that includes like all of our media teams who come out and record the young people in the music videos, who record their music. We have a media team that come and record the music videos, give the kids software, all that stuff. But that's how that works. And again, we just don't extend that fee to the young people. The idea is to be totally free. It does create challenges sometimes, right? Because, how do you get kids to come every day if mom and daddy didn't pay, even if it's a couple hundred, or some of these programs would be thousands of dollars. So you don't have that investment from the young folks that make them come every day. So we just try to create a very interesting program. We bring celebrities. We've had everybody from Angela Yee from the Breakfast Club as a host. Damian Lillard, who's doing a program in Portland. Y'all know he's put out music. So we get celebrities and people that make us look a little more cooler than what we are. And that's what makes the kids wake up and come every day, or make sure that their parents drop them off. So $30,000, 40 kids. And that has been handled a lot of ways. I don't care how it's handled, as long as we come in and we can do the program. Like sometimes it's like with architecture firms, it might be 5 or 6 firms who get together, put money together and host a camp. We've worked with city planning departments when they are doing like updates to the city comprehensive plans, and they have to do community engagement. So we've come in and led the community engagement initiative for mayor's offices or city planning departments too. And it's just a part of a budget that they already had to engage the community. All right, I know you had questions.
So I want to live in Helpingham. I am one of the first Black, I am the American Planning Society's, the APA planning, what we call the RAP, the lead for San Francisco for the programming for the American Planning Association here in San Francisco. And I've also been a Pathways to Athlete Fellow, as well as a Pathways Fellow with ULI, with urban plan and things. And so we welcome you here and want to know like anything that, you know, I in my role as the, you know, one of the first Black people to be actually on the board, in this role for San Francisco, we want to make sure that we are correcting the wrongs that have been here and that we are part of our future going forward. And I see your program as it is, you know, and it's not a lot. We've got so many architecture planning firms here that can sponsor things, and I'd love to partner with you to see that this bring this to San Francisco.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely connect. I'm gonna make sure I share my, what happened to my slides? I'll pull those back up so I have my contact info. Yeah, and APA has their first Black woman president.
No, not they're planning lead for San Francisco.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. APA National.
Yes.
Has their first Black woman as a president.
And we gotta do better than just be a Black face.
Facts. Oh, wait, we'll reconnect. As was there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Diane from 100% College Prep, and wanted to know, I saw the young people, it looks like, is it preteen, like up to about 16 or so? What is the age group that you work with?
Yeah, so we go 6th through 12th grade. You know, if we're teaming with someone who services a certain group of young people, we'll just come in and service just that group. But if we're recruiting on our own, we recruit 6th through 12th grade students. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed that you had a young person talk about making her money with her bread in the bakery. I wanted to know if you could speak to some of those other elements the young people really felt would make a neighborhood more livable and accessible for them when you're seeking their dreams.
Yeah, that's why I gotta get the slides up. I feel like I'm a Wizard of Oz back here.
John, that was a good movie. Still got it.
I'm gonna share the video. Yeah, so the question was, what have young people talked about? So, like sometimes we go and it's a very specific project that we're looking at. Like it's a development that's going on and we want young people to comment on that. But then there's times when we are pretty open and free. So this was it's one of the years during the pandemic. We couldn't do our rap battles live. We had to do all of our rap battles over Zoom. So this young lady, she's in Chicago. But yeah, we had 650 young people participate in our hip hop architecture camps during the pandemic. So it's just one big virtual camp. But we challenged them to design whatever they wanted in their neighborhood. So And then when they present their projects, they don't present it like, oh, here's the front of the building, here's the back door. They don't present how architects are taught to present. We want them to use their voice, their creativity, so they get one rap verse to present their project. So this was her verse about what she wanted to see in her neighborhood.
We individuals suffering, always cynical, crying because of the vision was visible out our windows. Creative minds that are treated like they invisible, building it is permissible, and kids can't act like kids no more. I'm gonna make a space for folks like me don't have to face a limited reality and limits on the things they make. You wanna go on in Euro, wanna do some great dance in the sky, it ain't a limit where we all create. A net of safety for the youth is always on the run. A PLC or GBT, we wanna see the sun. We got the gardens, yes, but listen, cause the work ain't done. Come and produce, come on and sing, come on and have some fun. Escape from guns and violence. It is the group that still confine us. We are the artists and we make it till they blind us. We are the architects who build over our own horizons.
All right, so this was her idea to build a community center where she wanted to have a maker space. And they gotta put everything in their rap. Maker space, she wanted to learn about gardening, and they had to, we teach them how to write, because they didn't have to take their lyrics and like delete the words, just look at the patterns, and now use the patterns as a part of the architecture. So try to teach them to rap and let them know that their favorite rappers are not Dr. Seuss, who like has a rhyming word at the end. Like you have a lot of stuff that's happening in all the lines. So when they're writing raps, they're writing it as a visual thing more than just a sonic experience. So like really diving deep into rap. So, and that was her project. She got the internship where her project got turned into something more realistic with the firm. So it's all over the map. And you also have kids that's like, yeah, I want to make a grocery store. I want to, they're learning about things that are being talked about in lyrics like food deserts, right? And then they, oh yeah, I know this is not a grocery store in my neighborhood. Maybe I should do that. So it's all over the map of what kids think. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I have
Appreciate it, Mike.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Joelle Stewart. I work for the Human Rights Commission. Thank you for coming. And I've been working on reparations, and my background is in urban planning. I don't know why I'm saying all of this, but just to give a little preamble. But my background is in urban planning, and so a lot of the discussions we had around reparations, undergirding it is that that idea that you talked about, like the genesis of it is rooted in redevelopment and urban renewal and things like that. And it's not lost on me that 50 years ago when hip hop was starting, it was a very regional, very localized sort of phenomenon. And in response to the conditions in cities in the Bronx at the time. But as we've moved on through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and now we see the, I don't mean to make this sound like a speech, I just talk like this all the time. But like as we continue on through this, like we see these demographic shifts in cities across America. I'm wondering if you can speak about the way that we see hip hop and the way that its relationship to the built environment has evolved over time, and if you've observed any, larger patterns in what the subject matter is and how it relates to the urban fabric. Because one of the most significant recent albums to me is College Dropout. I'm originally from Chicago, and I feel like that has so much like.
I miss the old Kanye.
Yeah, I know. I miss the old Kanye too. But yeah, I just. That's a lot of words. I just wonder if you can speak a little bit more about like the evolution of hip hop in the modern era as it relates to people and demographic shifts. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's a critique hip hop gets, and even when we talk about the hip hop architecture camp, and I bring on educators or like community leaders, people to come and volunteer at the camps. So you don't have to be an architect to volunteer. We bring everybody, and one of the discussions is what lyrics are we going to have people explore. People are like, well, hip hop ain't what it used to be. They're talking about this or that. Today they're talking about drugs. They're still talking about what's in their neighborhood. Conversations have just changed. You think about Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and they make this on the message. Broken glass everywhere. They're talking about the Bronx in the 70s. But today, as artists talk about, they're talking about new things that are in their neighborhoods. Think about Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross, right? Who talks about how he worked with government agencies to get crack cocaine into neighborhoods, right? So now you see people talk about crack in the 80s and early 90s, a lot more music. They're still reflecting what's in their neighborhoods, what's in their environment, the policies and procedures. The only thing that's different from today, I think today versus yesterday, is the music back then was a call to action, more of a blatant, I'm exposing what's in my environment. Here's more, today, it can be seen or perceived as more of a glorification and not really pointing the finger at people who are changing our neighborhoods and environments. And, but no matter what, again, the music today, I'm like, hey, you don't have to come to the camp and look at some old school rapper who really talked about the neighborhood that we think talked about neighborhoods. You could listen to Cardi B today. You could listen to Kendrick, J. Cole. Hip hop is still critiquing the environment. It's this unsolicited, like, unfiltered critique. But it's up to us to like slow down, understand it, and now how can we design something moving forward. So that's a long way of saying I'll take hip hop from all years.
Thank you very much for your inspiring and hopeful talk. I'm Sally Bisnath, and I'm the senior economist with the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. It's a UN organization. And my question is, when you talk about the engagement of the young people, they very much talk about things that relate to human rights. The right to adequate housing, affordable housing, the right to food because of the food deserts in communities. Do they link it with rights? And the reason I ask is because with rights we have the law and we have policies and we have things that we can use the way Dr. King invoked when he spoke about civil and political rights to change some of the realities on the ground. And I'm asking if you help them to make those links so they can imagine a different community in terms of the built environment, but also concretely work towards structural changes. Thanks.
Yeah, great question. I would say we could talk about it even more when we partner with your office. All right, we can be very specific and create or adjust curricula to lead to that discussion. But yes, we have done that. You know, we've even put on a national competition for young people. So this was done with rapper Lupe Fiasco out of Chicago. He has a song called All Black Everything, where he reimagines people as different people. And how would the world be different if this person wasn't black, but he was white, and this white person was black? Or very creative song. But we held a competition where we had young people go through lyrics from any rapper they wanted to, and then design a product, space, or place that would advance rights for people. So it was everything from young people designing apps to the future of affordable housing, but all of their prompts had to be tied directly to a rap lyric. So this was an international competition we had, which was, and we didn't want to call it a competition, it really wasn't a competition. Somebody did win prizes, everybody won for participating, but it was directly related to that idea of how do we use rap lyrics to call attention to situations like human rights, but how do we now respond to it? And at that time, we were, I made this statement that Lupe was like, oh, that was interesting. I said, as architects and urban planners, are we content with designing the backdrops to injustice. Right? All of the things you're seeing on the news are happening in spaces and places that somebody designed. And if you've ever been involved with designing a building or a park or anything, if you've been part of that discussion, we go through everything that could possibly happen in that space and we design for it. At no point do we ever say, all right, and a person's going to die right here. All right? And some architects are like, well, I just build spaces. I don't have a right to discuss what happens after I build it. So we wanted to challenge people to say, you don't build a backdrops to injustice. So we shouldn't be complacent with building that. How do we get involved with what's happening in our spaces after we create them? And that's where the lyric competition came into play. But we should connect, and I'll show you what we did. There's one more.
Thank you. My name is Alonzo. I'm from the Office of Health Equity. I was just curious about your summer program. What is the length of the program? And what are the pre-requirements for the youth joining the program is my second question. The third one is, out of all the work you've done in teaching them how to write raps and everything, what are your objectives with this program overall, and how you can replicate that in different areas when you go? Thank you.
Yeah, so the prerequisites are none. What's that? We'll do one more, and then I'm going to try to show, but we'll do two more. Three more. Well, I'm going to keep my answer short so I can show you all some stuff. I want to talk about, I want y'all to see the kids too, I want y'all to see the genius. But the prerequisites, they're none. Only thing that we do,
we're targeting Black and brown children.
we're targeting Black and brown children. So that's who we are looking to bring into the program. The only thing that we ask is that we have this in our application process, that you're interested in both hip hop and architecture. In the past, we didn't do that. And you get kids who come and they're like, yeah, I just want to be an architect. I don't know about this music thing. They don't want to rap, they're scared. And then you have kids like, I'm just here to rap, bro. Music videos. But you got to do the architecture part too. So you got to be interested in the program. And then the length of the program is 5 days. So Monday through Friday. So all day program. And then we have a 6th day, which usually happens about 2 weeks after the camp is concluded, where we do a music video review. So we just did one in Dallas, brought all the kids back, their parents, their white friends. We got a theater at the Holocaust Museum, and the museum rolled out the red carpet for the kids. They got to watch their music video for the first time together. We're doing it in Memphis next week. In Memphis, our project was designing a skate park in memory of Tyree Nichols. And that was actually our project across the country this year. When I seen Miss Rovine Wells on TV, like this was during one of our planning sessions. She talked about her son loving sunsets and loving to skate. And if anything, she would build a skate park for everyone. So have all the kids like design skate parks in his memory. Lupe got involved, Kid Bush himself came to the camps. And then to my surprise, Miss Wells, like his mother, his dad, his brothers, his whole family, they came to one of the camps with the kids. So now I'm designing the skate park for Tyree Nichols. But yeah, that's a little summary. And we'll come to you next. There's one more right there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there's this national conversation happening about revitalizing downtowns. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, what is the political class missing in that conversation?
That's a good question. So the very first camp was a camp it was in Madison, Wisconsin. It was a partnership with the mayor's office in the city of Madison's planning department. So they were updating the comprehensive plan, so looking, I think it's like 30 years into the future, like what were they going to focus on. I was the only Black person at any of these planning sessions, besides the city council person. I think she had to be there. So I was like, yeah, we are looking at 30 years into the city's future. And you have the questions where you do the clickers and the answers show up. They always had ask demographic questions. So the median age there was like 53. So you think in 30 years into the future, so these people are going to be 83 by the time this is implemented. Like, we missing the mark. So that's how I propose the hip hop architecture camp. But I think what they're missing is like, oh, we got to get Black folks to the table. We got to really understand what they want in their neighborhoods, what they think about what we're doing. Like, yeah, we've been saying that shit for 50 years. Hip hop is 50 years. And before hip hop, you don't like hip hop, go to the blues, right? All of our music has been a reflection of the built environment. Unfortunately, people have been dancing to it as opposed to responding to it. So it's really, people need to learn some critical listening skills, like in how to listen to hip hop. And that's what I think we do at the camp, getting young people to be better than their peers because they're better listeners. But yeah, I think that's what's missing is, it's like, I need to hear what Black folks and brown folks are saying. We've already said it, we just didn't do it in that way where we had to write it into this box. All right? It was like unsolicited and unfiltered and raw.
Grand Rising, and thank you for coming. It's been really interesting. I am Tony Hines, and I have a community healing business called Why Not Unite for Peace. And I'm blessed to be surrounded by a lot of young male rappers. I have a 6-year-old grandson who lives with me. All he and his friends are rappers. And I would like to know if you know any resources you can share that could, before you come and do your work, to do some pre-work to translate what you're just saying to be a better listener, or to translate it to math, or just something, because they in my house eat my food, so take the village and do something.
Oh man. I want to make sure I don't feel bad after I say this. I'm gonna say it. I don't know, everybody not a fan of AI. But I will say Google and both Microsoft just put out some very interesting artificial intelligence tools that they might be interested in. And I'm blanking on the name of both of them. Google put out one, this was less than a month ago. But what the tool's doing, they're challenging people who think they can rap or who can rap or want to advance like the topics and things that they have in their music. But they give like short writing prompts, and it's if they follow, I think one of the best examples, I've said Lupe name like 3 times now, but he actually created the tool with Google. He did a residency at MIT and created this tool. It's like teaching the AI how to rap, and now how can the AI help young people learn how to rap. I think that would be great, because you can put any topic, right? You want to talk about food deserts, all right, now let's get your bar straight so you can talk about this in a way that you really understand it.
So you get the name, tap me on the shoulder and let me know.
Yeah.
It'll come.
Generative AI, is that it? That's the Google one?
Yeah.
Generative, no, it's called something else. What is it?
Bard. But it's
Bard.
Yes.
Bard.
Yes.
Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Oh, do we have another question?
Hello, peace everyone. My name is Erica. I'm executive assistant over at the Village Project under Ms. Adrienne Williams. We run year-round children's programs, ages 5 through 17. We focus on literacy, learning of basic life skills and cultural arts. I'm just wondering if you have an introductory book or any type of literature or maybe activities that we could use to spark interest for these children, where they can do things that are hands-on, or they can apply things to practical, everyday things.
Yeah, good question. Short answer, no. I do not have anything. So the question a few questions back said, what's the ultimate goal? It is one of my ultimate goals, is how do I disseminate this curricula where a little broader, where I or people that I work with don't have to be in the space to deliver the curriculum. So that is one of the goals. Right now, it's a very personal, we are there delivering the program. So yeah, looking for partners to help do that. How do we widely or share it where Yeah, I don't have to be there. I also hire a lot of students from HBCU, so they get travel grants. These are graduate students and some undergrads. They get to go to a brand new city for a week. They get paid. They work with me to get trained in the curriculum. They get to engage with young folks and see architecture in a new city. But how can we, again, have it where even they don't have to travel to go somewhere? That's one of my ultimate goals.
What's up, man? My name is Coffee J. I'm from Hunters Point, now Bayview. I'm a hip hop organizer, educator, business consultant. I run Hip Hop for the Future. And for 10 to 15 years, I've been trying to get philanthropy to understand hip hop, and not to mention, regular people to understand it's the strongest organizing force we have on the block anyway. But what kind of hurdles have you faced trying to get your work funded, or even accepted, just being rooted in hip hop culture?
First, that's a nice t-shirt too. I need one of those. T-shirt say, fuck your racist grandma. Yeah, I need a couple of those. But, so, in architecture, it's not, I guess, unsimilar to other professions. So, when architecture being accepted by bringing hip hop, I didn't check it at the door. I brought it in with me. So, it's this little thing about architecture. Like, you get a degree, you get a master's degree, you have to take all these exams, you gotta practice, and then eventually you can be called an architect after you pass the exams and you've done so much practice. Me, I'm young, like, fuck that. Like, I've spent all this money, you don't call me an architect. And, I would get letters from people like, hey, I heard, an article written about you, and they called you an architect. Maybe you want to tell them that you're not an architect, you're a designer. Like, you got the time to actually gatekeep the word architect. It's like hair architects, information architects, all these people call themselves architects. So that was like one of the early hurdles when I was younger. But then I'm like, no, I'm gonna call myself the hip hop architect. Like Dr. Dre, no doctor, you make everybody call me doctor. And then the American Institute of Architects, like our national governing body, had me come in and keynote. So I was keynote next to Michelle Obama. It was her first keynote out of the White House. And I wasn't licensed at that time. And they called me up on the stage, like, the hip hop architects. And I was like, I had this figure to everybody, like, yeah, y'all heard that? Like, they called me the hip hop architect. But it wasn't accepted because people are like, oh, these things don't go together. But they do. So it really was educating people that these two seemingly unrelated things are definitely related. And then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to educate other people so much, and I look for their validation. How can I hit the potential funders who are interested and not spend so much time trying to convince folks or let them validate me, because as soon as they validate me, they can invalidate me, right? They can cancel me. So I went a different route. I didn't go through traditional funding means. All of my initial funding was outside of architecture groups or anybody involved in architecture. It was all like public libraries or again, city officials. I think the first major funder that was related to architecture was here in San Francisco, a company called Autodesk. They were the first partners, like, hey, they see one of the rap videos on there, they're like, okay, we need more kids rapping about architecture. But yeah, it's hard. How do you get people to accept it? I think you're just gonna find the right audience. And I also believe in guild money too. We stopping at 12:30. I think it's at 12:30. We'll do two more, and then I want to show y'all some stuff, and then I might have some questions after. So we'll go there, and then we'll end with you.
This is really exciting stuff. Thanks so much for bringing it to us. There's kind of two movements. People are talking about bringing more nature into the urban and built environment and bringing Black and brown kids and people into nature. So you've had brilliant insights on everything you've talked about. I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
No, I believe in opportunity to have that moment of solace outside of the noise and movement of the city. You know, people like, you know, Robert Smith, you know, he has a program I've been involved with for a couple of years now where he takes young people from cities across the country and take them out to Colorado, you know, into the mountains for a couple of weeks just to get away from the city. I told you I'm with that, and how do you bring more greenery into cities? I think becomes one of those challenging discussions. Is how do you have people in those cities that you're trying to bring that greenery into involved with it? Because most of the time, greenery has come into our cities like it was eroding or removing something, right? Like Central Park is not just Central Park; it was a Black neighborhood. You know, I'm in Dallas now. Just learned the neighborhood park we have downtown is a Black neighborhood. So how do you do that in ways that are beneficial to the residents? It's got like bike lanes that are popping up everywhere. It's like the first sign of gentrification. There's that bike line. And that bike lane also means that it's not just an individual movement to gentrify. Like the city is now behind this, right? It's now a larger discussion that's happening. So how do you get residents involved with those initiatives? I think is the challenge. Not the challenge, but it's key to the success.
Hi, my name is Brianna Priors, and I work with the Hope and Safety Initiative, which we work with the 4 low-income neighborhoods in San Francisco. Would love to have you work with them, that's one. But I really wanted you, if you could speak about like what your program is doing for the youth. How are they feeling knowing that going through this, the lyrics that they're making are literally impacting change, impacting the way their neighborhood looks, the way their cities look, and knowing that you empowered them to use their voices to do so, and they can now effectively see that change, whereas like, you know, as youth, everybody above you is making all of the decisions. So yeah, just speak to how they feel.
Well, first, some students are like, the first day they don't know what to expect. We don't tell them about any celebrities that's coming to the camp, because then the parents will be there and it's like the delayed drop off and it's hanging around. So we don't tell them nothing about any celebrity that's coming. So that first day is awkward. Everybody's quiet. They're reading lyrics. What is this? But when we get to like the second day and we're starting to build things, like they're now seeing that this is a tool that, one, makes them, not makes them appear, but it shows that they are smarter than most other kids, right? The fact that they can decipher all of these lyrics, they can extract the math, like some people can't even hear rap, like cut it on, it's like, I don't know nothing they're saying. Our kids can keep up with it. Our kids can freestyle, because we also have kids rap. So they can freestyle, they're doing math, like they're calculating bars and how long sentences need to be, and sometimes on a beat that they never heard, right? So they're doing like all this complex stuff. So at the end, like they're feeling like, I am a genius. Like they walk away feeling like they're extremely smart. And then when you add to it any celebrity that might come to a camp, the fact that we've never had, you know, sometimes they say you never want to meet a celebrity, because then like the mystique of them is gone and you know like the real one, you're like, we've never had that experience at the camp. Everybody that's come in has been like very attentive to the young folks and genuinely shocked. So like in St. Louis, this was my college soundtrack. I went back with kids. We had Chibi come to the camp. He was like the soundtrack to my years in college. But he came to the camp, and just like everybody else, like, you come in and you see these models, whether it's on a computer or something physical, and most of the time like, oh, that's cute. You think you need to be engaged. Like, oh, that's cute. Good. Keep going, young lady. Keep going, young guy. But when they get to see, man, I'm sharing some images like, this is, like, Chibi, this is your song. Like the rappers now, they start to hold it in their hands. And they want to make more music because they think they can make music that's visually more complex. So rappers, and I'm sure y'all a session we did here in San Francisco back in like 2018. So we brought a group of rappers from across the country to Autodesk headquarters. And we ran a session, a camp, just like we do for kids, but it was for all rappers, all adults. And they had rap battles where you never heard them rapping. You just put on virtual reality and you like walk through their words. And it'd be whack, or like, nah, it's not places. The next person, they'll go back, rewrite something, get it rebuilt, put on a headset, and you walk through it again. So they were having rap battles that were like building cities. It was pretty dope. But I think the kids walk away knowing that like, I'm a genius. That's what I want them to walk away feeling. Cool, thanks for those questions. I'm gonna, I see the screen keep like blinking. It's not me that's doing it, but I think I can walk y'all through some images. I might have to click it with my hand. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yes. All right, so this was the event we did in San Francisco. So we had like about 40 people that came here. Lupe, he invited all the rappers. I invited like architects and designers. And so we had battle rappers like this guy. His name is Daylight. He got like a spawn tattoo on his face. So it's dope, like walking around Autodesk headquarters with him. Walking around their offices. The guy next to him is a rapper named Chino Excel. Then I had, again, like architects and designers. But we went and we ran them through a camp. But it was for all 4 adults. We had tech partners that came in, and we challenged them to write music on the spot, and then how can we visualize the music. So now our diagrams starting to become a little more complex. I don't know what's going on with that one here. We start to make like more complex models and diagrams. We start to create things like, can people, I usually want to get architect, you want to teach somebody about architecture or urban planning, you give them a pen or a pencil and try to get them a sketch. We're like, no, like let's create an app on the spot where you can like rap into it. You can rap into your phone, and as you rap to your phone, like geometry is created based on the words that you say. So how can we really let their genius be explored? And this was us. Now, this one of my boys from Detroit actually wrote some of the scenes for 8 Mile. So like really dope lyricists. But he's walking through a city that he just rapped about. So heights of buildings could be based on like something as simple as how many letters are in a word, something as complex as again like double entendres or however many entendres they put into it, how many syllables. But they had a whole rap battle without you ever hearing a rap. It would be them writing something, working with an architect, and then we walk through it. And then it got crazy, where people started to do stuff like this. They wanted to outdo each other, so he wrapped himself with a sheet of paper that had some rap lyrics on it. He came out and said, "Hey, can y'all guess what I'm doing?" So like, I don't know, just going off the deep end, you're walking around with this piece of paper on you. It's like, no, I just wrap myself. Oh, I get it. You wrap yourself. So then we're like, yo, can we actually do it? So again, we start to look at music and take textiles. Can this turn into textiles? And then we literally made jackets that are textiles for lyrics. So we were teaching the rappers at this point how they can use their voice and their creativity to now get into another field, right? Of fashion design or other avenues where they don't have to become a person that can sketch or draw or do this. Like, how can your voice and what you do lend itself to something different? So I would give these away to special guests when it comes to the camp. It'll be their music. And of course, it's like with the kids, they look at me like, what is this? I go, it's your song, because of the whole thing. They discovered it's their song and they're excited. And I gave it to the boy my guy who who originally came up with the idea. Say, hey, here's one of your jackets. He's like, no, it's a rap. Call it a rap. All right, it's a rap. So we never call them jackets, we call them raps. And then the other thing that has come out of the camps that we do for young folks, as I meet more artists or we partner with different organizations, man, this thing is really fun. Yeah. So I come on like fall over. But we always learned that hip hop artists have like different initiatives, and like how can we get kids to not just create a concept for something, but how can we actually get things built? So we started a program called Hip Hop for Humanity, and it was a special program for me when we started it because of our first project. But this is where I grew up. I grew up in the city of Highland Park, Michigan. This is Detroit. It's like the freeway separates us. But Highland Park, we had all of our thunder stole by Detroit. Highland Park is where Henry Ford started the assembly line. It wasn't Detroit. But this is where I grew up. This is where my wife grew up. But we never knew each other. We went to the same elementary, middle school, high school. We never knew each other until like one day we were walking down the street. College is done. We're both working downtown. We passed each other. It was like, I think I know you from somewhere. And we started dating and put all the pieces together. But I learned later that the house she grew up in all that time did not have running water. So she grew up in a house with no water until she got adopted by her grandmother in high school. Probably had running water in the house. But it caused health issues, including us never being able to have a baby and other things that impacts the lives of, you can imagine somebody living with no running water. So I met this young lady, Dr. Kulea. She grew up as part of the Samburu tribe in Kenya. So it's about 4 hours north of Nairobi. So I met her in Wisconsin. President Obama had mentioned her as a person who gives him hope on one of his presidential campaign trails. So she has this program called Samburu Girls Foundation. They do a lot of self-construction. She has over 400 girls who live on the campus, but they don't have running water. So when I heard it, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to figure something out right here. So, so that's me and my wife. We went there, we ran a camp for the young folks where we got them to design their campus, like what other buildings would they want on their campus. These are young girls that she rescues from traditional practices that are now illegal, like female genital mutilation, early marriage, etc. Like Dr. Kulea would go literally snatch a girl from a wedding. It's like, what's she gonna do? You gonna call the police and say that I snatched a young girl you were trying to do? So yeah, she gangster. And then she brings them to her, to Samburu Girls Foundation, pays for their schooling, all that. But again, never had the funding needed to really build a campus out like she wants to. So we ran a camp, they made music about it. My goal was to have hip hop artists now fund different buildings that they wanted to create on campus. But to my surprise, there was a hip hop artist, Lupe Fiasco. He's on the board for the hip hop architecture camp. But he helped start a company called Zero Mass Water. It's now called Source. But they create these panels. It's like a solar panel, but it's a hydro panel. You've probably heard of them before. They take water vapor out of the air and turns it into drinking water. But as a surprise to the young people at the end of the camp, they installed enough of these panels to give all the girls drinking water. And it wasn't just drinking water, it was like water that they could use for cooking, bathing, like all of that. They installed enough panels to generate the water. So it's me and Dr. Kulea, see how tall she is. And then,
my wife, so she got to come over there, play with some of the girls, share her story. So just the idea that now we're using hip hop, and Lupe has a song, Hip Hop Saved My Life. That's what we kind of dedicated the song to, the project to. And for my wife, it's kind of a full circle moment knowing that at least these young girls won't face some of the same challenges that she's faced, but all through the power of hip hop. And then we always gotta have rappers involved. So this rapper's name is Lamarte. He came down from Nairobi to perform when we did the ribbon cutting. And that's me on the camera, so it's not shaking crazy. Yeah, so, that's another step we want to get back to. Like now that the pandemic is over and, there's a lot of hip hop artists who do a lot of work for good. How do we get young people involved in those projects? Questions?
Young man, you are just amazing, and what you're doing is so impactful. One of my thoughts when you said earlier, how do we get those that either don't fully understand or embrace fully the hip hop art, not because they don't like it, but I'm a baby boomer, 77, so I don't understand it often because it goes so fast, I can't follow them. But in terms of hip hop, do you also incorporate the inclusiveness of training your artists in places of respect? Some of the things that may hold me back as clergy, as an older person, when I came up, we always embraced respect and dignity and honor and pride. And so when you think of certain things you don't say around folks that are too young, children, words you won't use, do you use that radio language where they bleep it or teach them to cross generations with their music, reach people that would love, and there's many of your messages I just love, embrace, use, work with, but when it gets to certain words, you want to pull out the children, and because it's not for them. And then as an older person, they're getting disrespectful now. That's where I go with it. So do you do things to help teach and train them how to stay generational, cross borders, and include and respect, with the dignity for your nation, for your people?
So two different answers to that. One, our young folks, they're listening to all PG-13 lyrics. When I had somebody, mom or dad, run up on me, the kids came home cussing. But all of our young kids use, it's all clean lyrics. It's not even deep lyrics. It's just lyrics. Get straight to the point of what we're trying to discuss. Now, if I'm working with college students, I have an ongoing college course. One that I just ran at University of Missouri, running now University of Detroit. It's no such thing as a filter there. And hip hop is largely consumed by people who don't look like us. The biggest consumers of hip hop is not us. We're not buying albums. We're not going to the concerts. So what I like to do is flip the script in those classrooms, and it's very unfiltered in the classrooms. And these are, it's not this architecture class, this is a cross-disciplinary course that I run, where we've created a rubric where you can score the relevancy of a rapper to a project that you might be doing, right? So you can look at, let's say you're building a park, a green space, and we've created something like in architecture, like a LEED checklist, like you build a green building, or like, it's something called LEED, it's like all these things you can check off for your building to be rated as a sustainable building. We created a rating for rap. So if you're building a park, you create a rating system, you can go and see what everybody has said about parks, but it's not PG-13 at all. It's like raw, you don't cut anything out. So I think our curriculum is age appropriate, but I will say too, what I love about hip hop is hip hop don't care about none of that. Like it's for who it's for. They're not trying to be appropriate. There's no such thing as appropriate. You can't be appropriate with people who haven't been appropriate with you. Sometimes you gotta be one. So and if Cardi B make a song that your 5-year-old loves, it's less her fault, it's more your fault.
We got one right here.
Hello, thank you for coming here today. My name is Hattie White. I'm with Young Community Developers. I'm a site director up here in Trail Hill that's also experiencing redevelopment and change. However, we have not had the luxury of having African-American designers be part of our system. And what's the next steps? I've heard a lot of questions and comments around youth. My big one for you is like a call of action. What things are in place to bring you to our city or nearby so we can get kids activated in these spaces and with these skill sets?
Yeah, it is. And yeah, thanks for that too. I mean, I would say it's related to that comment first. I'm gonna share my contact info again, but I'm putting the ball in y'all's court to like reach out and make it happen. There's a lot of conversations with people I might meet, but really just speaking humbly, saying follow up, reach out so we can get the conversation going. But getting architects involved with projects like that, two resources I give out. One is in NOMA, National Organization of Minority Architects. So all of the Black architects and soon-to-be architects around the country, most of us are a part of that organization. So being able to, if you wanted to speak directly to all the Black architects, you want to speak to firm owners like myself.
Get them part of the process. So our buildings, future-wise, is conducive to the space that we need for our kids to thrive. Yeah. And not just something that's just thrown up feasible for the project,
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's getting in touch with those organizations. Like what we do at NOMA, we had a partnership with the UN, for example, bringing the UN in to speak to all the Black architects around the country to, one, educate us on how to actually go after those projects, how do we know when those projects are happening and available. Also looking at the RFP processes. So when cities put out RFPs, a lot of times it excludes, just the way that it's written, it might exclude us from being able to work on the project. For example, my firm, small firm, it's 8 of us, got nice sized projects. The Hip Hop Museum, is $49 million, working on the Black Inventors Hall of Fame in Newark, New Jersey, another museum dedicated to Black inventors. But sometimes the RFP might come out for a project, and it's like, you need to have 5 buildings in the last 5 years with at least a $100 million budget. Now it's only the same people who get these projects who are even able to get the projects, right? So starting to look at how proposals go out. And that's why a lot of Black firms that exist, they eventually dissolve or get bought out by a larger firm because they can't go after certain projects. That's how do you sustain your employees, right? So that's an issue I know with cities and states. Even for going to develop projects, they look for developers with a certain amount of liquid cash, or assets. I don't have $100 million, but I can develop this project in my neighborhood if you give an opportunity instead of somebody halfway across the country.
Right.
So it's starting to dig into how proposals are put out there that makes it accessible to more diverse professionals.
Okay, thank you for speaking to that.
Hi, my name is Lynette Mackey. I'm the CEO of Mackey's Corner. It's a suicide awareness and prevention. I want to thank you for everything you presented today. Amazing, amazing. I do also, on the side, I do trips to Africa, to Kenya. And with all the people that we give back to Kenya. I'm interested in giving back to that organization. I'm interested in our donations that we bring from the US, which we get a lot. Last time we just went, this year, we bought beds, mattresses for the entire village that we adopted. I'm interested in helping that organization. That really touched me.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely share that information. But it's Samburu Girls Foundation. It's the name of the organization. Samburu Girls Foundation. They are in Maralal, Kenya. So yeah, if y'all haven't been to Kenya, it's like one of the best trips I ever took. So we spent time in Nairobi. So we was in a big city, which to me was like being in Chicago. We was there for like 3 weeks, and then we went from the city to the countryside, and yeah, it was amazing out there. But I'll definitely share the information with you. I only took one, so put me in your luggage so I can go back. You have 2 more questions, then I'm gonna show y'all one more thing. We can maybe start in the back and we'll come up here.
I just want to ditto that I think we're all really impressed with the work that you have already done and are doing, so thank you for that. I have a question around how architecture can impact in a city like San Francisco where we don't have a lot of space to build new, and if the architecture can be part of sort of reimagining spaces or buildings that already exist. Yeah, I think that's basically my question, because we have no real estate. Like, everything is already here, but we are trying to sort of reimagine some of these spaces as they close and we reopen them, especially in our gentrified neighborhoods. And just wondering about, you know, like, if that's like even possible, or do you mostly just work on ground up projects?
Well, I mean, what I work on is anything that improves the quality of life. I'll say that. That is my criteria for a project. So whether that's ground up or renovation, as long as I can say it does that, I work on it. But I think one of the things that people are starting to look at, which I'm sure is a conversation here, is looking at zoning and what buildings are zoned for, and how can we, like office spaces, right? As people now are embracing that work from home on a more permanent basis, how do you start looking at office spaces being renovated into housing? Where I'm from, Detroit, you know, a lot of the public schools in Detroit, students population drastically reduced. How do you start looking at schools as places for living? So I think it's like zoning is one thing that can be addressed, what it would need to be addressed. You should start looking at new spaces and how those spaces might be used around the city. That's one of the many things that can be discussed. But zoning is a big thing on that list. All right, and then got one more. Yes.
Hi, my name is Kamari, in the Human Rights Commission, from Opportunities for All. So we focus a lot around workforce development for youth. And one of my questions, when you mentioned the prerequisites of being interested in both architecture and hip hop, I wanted to know if you could speak towards students that not necessarily had any interest towards architecture, like what were the challenges around that? Because I feel like specifically around like Black architecture, a lot of the issues with exposure, like that's not something that kids are being exposed to. I worked in education before. We're not talking about like what these different job opportunities could look like. So what do you envision that for San Francisco, and what were the challenges for students who are like, oh, I can never do that, or I don't even see like that. I'm more interested in the hip hop, but like what were their challenges and what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, again, for us, we want people to have an interest. Like, you fill out the application to be a part of the program. I mean, if you just didn't check the box that you would be interested in exploring architecture during the camp, you just won't be accepted. But we still have people who check the box anyway, that just show up. You know, our kids ain't bashful at all. So what I love about the hip hop community is I can tell you that architecture is cool. I can say it's great. I can talk to him blue in the face, but I won't be able to reach a kid like somebody who really got the pulse of the community, like a hip hop artist, right? If they echo my message, it makes it that much easier for me. So, for instance, in Memphis, we had a camp. There was a young man there who actually killed the rap battle in the music video. But the first 3 days we were in architecture, he was disengaged. But a rapper came in, well, a couple of rappers, but one of them reached out to him during the camp. It's like, you know, I noticed you're not really engaged. I can tell you're here for the music, but I don't want to hear nothing you rapping about if you're doing architecture. That was enough to make him do the architecture. The fact that he wanted this rapper to hear him rap. So he was like, oh. And then after he did it, he was like, oh, this ain't so bad. Right? He actually started to enjoy taking his words and turning it into something new. But it's being able to leverage the voice of the culture to like push our messages forward. President Obama did it to mobilize first-time voters, right? Voting. We can all talk about, hey, you should vote, but the moment you get somebody of stature to say it, it changes the impact of what you're trying to get out there. But yeah, there's a lot of young people who, I won't say a lot, there's a number of young folks who were not interested. They still checked the box, but after the camp, they came the next year. They had so much fun, so we got a lot of repeat participants as well. And they know when they come the second time, they got to do the architecture, so they just fall in line. Then one last thing I wanted to show y'all was, you know, how do you get, the other thing is getting brands and, you know, partners. So a lot of times I go and I do these talks, and then people come up to me afterwards like, what's your annual budget? I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna see what I get next year. We'll see what we can do, right? It's no, you know, millions of dollars of grants that we have. And I joke with people like the American Planning Association. There was a sister here from them. The American Institute of Architects. I say, hey, y'all have invested like millions of dollars into this idea every year, like diversifying our architecture and planning professions. That's right. Millions of dollars every year you put into it. And all you can show is like 2% of the profession is Black. Give me that money. I can't fuck it up. No more than God. But that message don't go over well because I always say I can't fuck it up no more than y'all. I never take those words out. Yeah, so I let them know. But there are organizations I partner with who seen the program and now they've gotten involved. So one is Shaw Contract. So Shaw is a carpet company, and they've seen the process that we have done, where I teach kids how to break down music and lyrics and create these textures and patterns. So they approached me about making a rug line. So Shaw is like the largest carpet manufacturer in the world. So part of the carpet that we're going now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's from Shaw. They do stadiums, they do hotels, airports, etc. Based in Georgia. They reached out to me and was like, hey, how can we help? How can we use our brand? So not only did they give us funds to run hip hop architecture camps, but then they collaborated with me to make a rug line, and then the proceeds from the rug line go to support the hip hop architecture camps. And then they let me, you know, design a product. So it was my first time designing something outside of architecture, and it won like the best flooring product of 2023 in the world. So, very nerdy, like interior design companies. Never go to. It's like where all the new products come out. This was the best product. And all of them are based, it's 5 rugs, each one are based on something in hip hop. Like this one, I based it on like how DJs used to carry records. So looking at the textures and the patterns.
Did you show your chair already?
Oh, I did not show the chair, but I will show that one.
I want you to do a chair with us.
Definitely do that. So this program was a brand now, like saying, how can we put our brand behind this mission? But they didn't just want to teach kids about architecture, they wanted to introduce kids to like making rugs, making textiles. So We have a new program we started with them. And that's me with Tyree Nichols' mother after the camp. So all his brothers and his dad. We're talking about building the park. But then I'll end with this one. It's another project where another brand, like, they learned about the message. It's like, hey, we can give you money to do a camp, but how can we do more? So I made this, check one time. We good? I can show this one?
I'll let you show this.
So I made a mural when, all the downtowns were closing, and boarding up the buildings downtown during the uprisings in 2020. So I painted a mural on one of the buildings in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. And it was one strike for every second that Officer Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck. I called it 526 missed opportunities. People could have stopped that from happening. I made it on this mural. This lady came and crossed out all of the tick marks. She was mad about it. It was ridiculous. Ended up stalking me. I had to be like a PPO, this lady, like crazy. But this company, Herman Miller, seen it. They seen it on the news talking about it. And they reached out. I'm gonna skip some of the background and just show y'all the chair. Ice Cube, y'all didn't know, he got a degree in architectural drafting. He wanted to be an architect before he was a rapper. And he said that this architect is his favorite architect. So this chair is owned by that company, Herman Miller. And they asked me what can they do when they see everything that was happening. I said, give me one of those chairs, I'm gonna make a mural on the chair. And every interior designer, every architect who comes to your website, I want you to be on your landing page. So they agreed, they sent me the chair. The chair's like $6,000, so I never probably never buy on my own. But the next day, the chair was like at my house. I'm like, okay, here we go. So what I did is I stripped it. It's like this wood chair, it's like this very like modern piece, like some beautiful
Y'all
chair.
need to look up Herman Miller.
Yeah, they amazing company. But this is their like most luxurious piece. And so I stripped all the wood off, went to my Detroit roots. I had this guy who painted cars, he painted the chair. And I wrote names of victims of police brutality on the chair. So the original people who made the chair, this is them, Charles and Ray Eames. So back in the 50s, I think it was the 50s, they said that the chair was a special refuge from the strains of modern day living. It was like this poetic thing. Like, oh, you can lay in the chair and all your worries go away. So I was like, well, here's people who haven't been afforded that refuge. And then we shipped the chair around the country. We had Instagram live discussions with different rappers, different groups, all to raise money for the hip hop architecture camp and organizations who made refuge for Black children. Now the chair's at a museum in Wisconsin. But there was another brand who like, all right, how do we put our brand behind this idea? They caught a lot of flack. One of the funniest things on Instagram, somebody put a comment that said, once you go woke, you go broke. I'll never specify your products on any of my projects anymore. And their CEO, I hate this is a lie, but I think, well, I'll say somebody at their company was like, I'm great that you expose yourself. We don't need you as a customer. So they like really tapped into this idea. They're still a supporter to this day. They support camps, and it's like we can give you money, but how do we help you educate a broader community rather than tapping into the 40 kids you tap into each city. So I think that's the other thing is going back to some of the other questions. How do we broaden the message and the impact? So that's something I would love with all the powerful people in this room. Like how can we not just impact a few kids here in San Francisco, but how do we broaden that to people around the country? But thanks for listening to me ramble some more.
Please give it up for Michael Ford. And we just say the sheer genius to even create a program for the kids, because I was like, how did you even come up with that, right? It's amazing. So we are about to go to lunch, but our chair of the Human Rights Commission is going to share some important information about the specialness of this year.
Well, I'm going to continue and thank you so much, Michael Ford. We appreciate everything that you're doing. And when you're talking about taking it national, let's take it global as well, right? Michael talked about his trip to Africa, his going home, his taking his lovely wife and turning it into a family adventure. Well, we're all the family. We're all the family here. And this is a special year because it is the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was written in 1948 by a committee of many, many nations and signed on to by everyone. At the time, Eleanor Roosevelt was the chair of that committee, the only woman and one of the few Americans on the committee drafting the Universal Declaration. Go look it up, Google it, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This event, Pathways to Parity, sponsored by us, the Human Rights Commission. Human rights are a national and international, a global movement. It's not just local, although all politics is local, right? But it's not just local. We are part of a huge movement, a tremendous effort by many, many people. And so while we think, oh, one person can't make a difference, we really can because we are with many others, talking about the same thing, doing the same thing. So look up the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This Pathways to Parity is a kickoff in a way for a celebration this year. The anniversary is actually on December 10th. Our December 8th Human Rights Commission meeting will be dedicated to the anniversary. And as we're thinking, and I'm really totally inspired by Michael and the use of hip hop, let's look at the 50th anniversary of hip hop and the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration and bring it to our young people and ask them to bust some rhymes about which article resonates for you, and have a party and talk about this celebration and bring it forward so that the vote means something to everyone, so that education and healthcare and housing and dignity, the ability to marry and live as we see fit and not dictated to. And that's what this is really about. Before we go to lunch, I think it's very important for us to be thankful, to be grateful that we are inside, we have food, and to acknowledge where we are. Under the leadership of tribal leaders, we were able to develop a land acknowledgement. We also have supported the cultural district for the American Indian. And so as we look at land reclamation and reconciliation, let's acknowledge where we are. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community, and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. Thank you.
So we are about to start lunch. We're gonna line up this way and go around, but before we do, I just wanted to give a special thank you and shout out to Debbie Zinzavadia. Can you give Debbie a round of applause? Thank you, Debbie, for helping coordinate, work on the logistics, secure the space for both today, this evening, and tomorrow. So thank you so much, Debbie. Thanks to the whole HRC team, and thank you to Arguello. I also want to thank the Warriors folks for opening up this space for us. So food around the corner, you can grab food and then walk around this way to get out.